Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Namaste Village. Ooh, it's kind of loud. Good to have all of you here. How's everyone doing? Are you awake?
Yes.
Yeah, really good.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You know, those are the only two declarations that you have to make. I am awake and I am ready. We're not here to continue to get ready, okay? That's what the ego's plan for salvation has always been. If you do this and you do that and you listen to this person and read that book, maybe at some point you'll be ready. But it's like a carrot on a stick. It's always out there in the distance. Never at any point does that aspect of your mind that wants to keep it out there in the distance, there's never a point at which it admits, okay, you're ready. The moment has come. You've done enough. You've seen enough. You are now ready. No, that doesn't happen. But the soul, that's all it says. You're ready for this. You're ready. I remember back in 1995, I went on an adventure that became my first book, Emissary of Light. And I could take that entire book and I could bring it down into just 3 words that the emissaries told me. They said, just go out and tell people you're ready. Right now. You need do nothing. You've done everything you need to do. In fact, that was nothing at all, because the truth is that's all there is. Your readiness to be awake to this moment, to this reality. But you have to claim it. I like your smile.
I'm agreeing with you.
We get some big smiles out here today. You have to accept that you're ready. So when I say you are ready, I want you all to say with me, I am ready. Ready? You are ready.
I am ready.
Okay, now everybody in Zoom, I want you to unmute yourself. This is going to be chaos, I know.
Okay.
But just for a moment, I want you to unmute yourself. Now that we've done this with the Namaste Village family, I'm going to ask all of you, are you ready?
I am ready.
Down so it's not blowing us apart.
Hello, cow.
Okay, well, there you go. You are ready. So we claim that right from the beginning, we claim that we are ready this moment. There's nothing else that we need, nothing left to do. Just admit, I'm ready to step into the light. I'm ready to be awake. I'm ready to see what has always been seen, to know what has always been known. And that's what we're going to do together. But let's begin with our declaration, our morning affirmation. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen. And as you say these words, I want you to really feel them. These are not just words to say, but this is a complete reality to embrace. So here we go. Ready? Wait, hold on. Are you ready? Here we go. I am as God created me. If I remain as God created me, fear has no meaning, evil is not real, and misery and death do not exist. I am as God created me, and so it is. Those words have the power to set you free. I am as God created me, and I remain as God created me. Ain't nothing I can do to change it. We said that yesterday. That is the greatest salvation statement there is. To know that I've tried, I've done everything that has ever come into my mind to try and change the will of God, how I am known by God, and I failed. Thank you. I am a complete, utter failure at trying to usurp the will of God. God's will is perfect happiness. God's will is joy. God's will is for you to be awake. Are you ready to embrace that?
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, I like this shirt. Let me show you here, because this is This is the world. Look at me, look at me. Get all confused. I found this book this shirt at some poncho last week. I thought, oh, this is what the world is trying to do, is to hypnotize you into believing not only what isn't true, but what could never be true. What it would be impossible to be true. And now we're waking up. It's like, ready? 1, 2, 3. Boop. Come out of that hypnotic spell. See where you are. See who you are. Most of all, you are not a shadow cast on the wall. You are not something that is unreal. Is a shadow a real thing? I don't think we could claim that it is. A shadow is the manifestation of what? Blocked light. A shadow is when I'm choosing to turn my back to the light, and my body is casting a shadow of the body onto a wall. And if I want to disassociate from the reality that I am and focus on the shadow, I might think that it's a real thing. Look, it moves, it dances. But does it move and dance on its own? Nope. It moves and it dances according to my movements, to what I'm asking it to do. But it's not a real thing. But if we disassociate from the reality that is forever real, the truth that is forever true, I might think that it is. And that is exactly what you've done. That's what perception is. That's what the ego is. It's the disassociation from your true self, from who you really are. So that's what we're going to hear about today. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this whole thing first. Instead of commenting as I go, I'm just going to read this whole thing. Here it is. Okay. The unreal shadow. By the way, this is another section from the upcoming book, The Non-Dual Universe. So I just added all of the exercises. So months ago, we shared this, but we're going to hear this with the exercise now. So listen to this and just drink it in. You don't have to figure it out. You don't need to do anything with it in your mind. Just drink it in and see where it takes you. Your determination to see what isn't really there has convinced you that it's possible for nothing to exist. Once again, your determination to see what isn't really there has convinced you that it's possible for nothing to exist. It's impossible for nothing to exist, and the instant you realize that, really, truly realize that, you'll open your eyes and see the real world. You look at a shadow and claim that it's alive. It moves and it dances, but never on its own. A shadow is nothing more than the manifestation of blocked light, which is exactly what your self-identity is. Your self-identity is a manifestation of blocked light. Does knowing that the you believe you are doesn't really exist make you feel angry? Or does it fill you with profound joy? If you feel the approach of this joy, then you're very close to breaking free from the chains that have held your identity in place. The chains that have held your identity in place for so long. A shadow has no real life of its own, but you can certainly imagine that it does. Your imagination has the power to see whatever it wants to see, but it can't make the unreal real. This is the key. Your imagination can do all sorts of things, but it cannot make the unreal real. That's beyond your power. And you're only now beginning to realize that. The more you realize this fact, the more obvious the real world will become. The more you will see that which has always seen you. Until now, you've been afraid to look upon this, but And here's the key. At this point now, a sufficient amount of light has come into your mind, and you can now see what has always been seen by God. A sufficient amount of light through this joining, by us coming together. This is a huge part of it. A sufficient amount of light has now come into your mind, so now you can see what has always been seen by God. What has always been seen by God is the only thing that's real. And you are that. You are the extension of God's love, and luckily there's nothing you can do to alter that. Nothing. Thank you. So here's the exercise. What do you feel when you hear that you are an extension of the love of God? That you are the perfect extension of God's love? Okay, so we're going to do this together. Say these words several times and see if anything shifts or changes in your body or mind. So the phrase we're going to say together is, I am the extension of the love of God. Ready? I am the extension of the love of God. Take a breath. Just breathe that in. Let's do it again. I am the extension of the love of God. Take a deep breath. Just feel that truth, that reality. One more time. I am the extension of the love of God. Breathe in one more time. Okay. Now we're going to shorten that phrase and see if the feeling increases or decreases. I am the love of God. That's what we'll say together now. Ready? I am the love of God. I am the very love of God itself. Say that again. I am the love of God. Finally, shorten the phrase to the simplest form and say these words several times. I am God. Ready? I am God. Now say, I am divine. I am divine, and I am that. I am that. That very vibrating reality of now. I am that. Does it feel strange to make such a declaration? Until now, you may have believed that such a statement was blasphemy. I used to think that. Perhaps your religious upbringing taught you that saying these words would require severe punishment. But now you're coming into the true recognition of your oneness with God. So declaring that this is what you are, an extension of the divine in the world, should be natural and encouraged. Stay with this for a while until you feel the truth radiating through your body and mind, then into the world as a blessing to all beings. That is powerful stuff. It may seem simple, but it's like a key slipping into the lock. It's what breaks this mesmerizing spell, which says, I am not that. I remember when I was 22, I had just graduated from a Jesuit university. I had recently left the Franciscans, so I was still very much in that Catholic world. And I had met this amazing young woman named Linda, who I would ultimately marry. And we were watching a made-for television movie. Back in the day, they had made-for-television movies. And this was a movie based on a Shirley MacLaine book, Out on a Limb. Anybody see that back in the day? A lot of you. Yeah. That was a big thing, wasn't it? That was, in many ways, that's kind of what launched what they called the New Age movement. And I remember watching that movie, and there's a part when the main guy, who is Shirley's friend in the movie, I think they're standing on a cliff or they're looking out over this beautiful landscape, and she is trying to get her to say, I am God. And she can't do it. What do you mean? I'm not God? And the reason she was having a hard time saying it was because she thought he meant to claim it as an identity. I am claiming something that you are not. This identity that I've created to literally block the light and cast a shadow on the wall. She was thinking that it was that was claiming that I am God. No, that's not it at all. That's the complete dissolving of that idea. I'm not a shadow on the wall. I am that which casts a shadow, and at any moment I can turn back around toward the light, and I won't see the shadow anymore. All I'll see is the light. The identity then disappears, the false identity. And I remember hearing it in my Catholic self, like, "Ooh, don't say that. That's the highest blasphemy." But it's the truth. If you are one with God, then you are the same as God, not in the form of an identity that is here today and gone tomorrow, but the truth, the reality that you are now and forever, that which God created. There are other lessons in this program where it'll say things like, does it make you feel upset that God doesn't even know you're here? Just like your child, when your child is sleeping, is it the child within the dream that you know, or is it your child? Is it the actual child that is dreaming? You can't enter into the dream and know what terrors might confront them, but you can know the holy, perfect child, and that is how you are known. The holy, perfect child that may be asleep, but is whole and complete right now. So I've talked enough. Because this ain't about the words. This is about the experience. And I'm hoping that some of these things will trigger that experience. So at some point there is that key slipping into the lock and the tumblers falling into place, and then you just touch the door and it opens on its own. There's no effort, there's no work involved. Just that, saying those words and meaning them. I am one with the love of God. I am God itself, vibrating everywhere at once. That is not blasphemy. In fact, you could claim, and you would be right, that it's blasphemy to say, I am not that. To say, I am not that is a direct confrontation with the will of God that wants you to know the truth of who you are and who you have always been. Not, once again, not as an ego, but as a whole reality. So, as we know, I am Vicky Poppy's warm-up act. Happy to have been able to warm everyone up for our dear sister. So, Vicky, you have a whole crowd with you there today.
Yeah,
Good to see all of you.
play day here. So thank you for that. Thanks so much. If those of you that are looking at the workbook lessons of the course, today's lesson is 165. If you happen to have a book, it would be a great gift to yourself if you read this lesson, because it's the instructions, the simple instructions of how to recognize who we are rather than the shadow of what we're not. So the lesson is, let my mind not deny not the thought of God. Let my mind deny not the thought of God. And the experience you're talking about, James, that experience is you have to be willing to wait a moment. There's a bridge of feeling distraught and literally blaspheming ourselves to think we're less than part of God. That's what you're right. That is what true blasphemy is. There's the bridge in feeling disconnected and coming into the direct experience of I'm connected. That one essence of love is what I am. And that bridge is the experience of not holding a thought less than the truth. Holding only a true thought. I am as God created me. I am the love of God. I am one with my Creator. Whatever line rings in your heart, hold it. Mm-hmm. What happens is we let the shadow start speaking, literally. The shadow is the denial. The shadow will have all kinds of thought, but you can't have this, but you have to do that, and he's no good, and you're no good, and all the rest of it. That's the language of the shadow. The shadow denies the light. Literally, it blocks the light. If instead of holding the shadow thoughts, we only hold the true thought and we wait for it, it takes a moment for our minds to accept that truth. It takes a moment of waiting for it. And if we hold to the truth and let not the denial of that, all the thoughts of self-condemnation one way or another, or a brother's condemnation, or doubt, or sadness, or fear, or worry, or concern, all of those are the denial of the love and the joy that we are. If we hold to the true thought and refuse to let our minds slip into shadow thinking, the truth dawns upon us. Now, it may not dawn upon us as it did with Saul, who turned into Paul. It may not be the parting of the Red Sea exactly. It may just be the light comes into our heart that lightens us. It may be a moment of rest. It may be a moment of not being concerned anymore and feeling safe. It may be a moment where you just get a glass of water and are comfortable. Those are all experiences of the love of God in a place of our willingness to receive it. When the last line, it's waiting for our acceptance. Our acceptance of the truth is not allowing false thoughts to enter into the place of truth. It's that simple. Truth requires total acceptance. Total acceptance is the letting go of thoughts that are its denial. It is that simple. Danny, who's on this Zoom usually somewhere in the room, did a beautiful example yesterday. He had, June 8th, he said he was very depressed. He started to hold only the true thoughts of God, one way or another. Then he started to sing them, like you talk about, James. He started to sing them day and night, and he sang for us on a call that we were on. And he's just holding and holding and holding. And it literally took him 6 days for the love and the joy of God to be received into his mind. Now, 6 days might seem like a moment of waiting, a long time, but we've been doing this lifetimes. So hold on. Let your 6 days hold to a song of God, a song of love. Read that lesson. It's lesson 165. It's got the entire instruction sheet. It's the entire set of instructions. Nothing's missing. And how to accept and open to the true experience, not just the thought, but the experience of the thought that we are the love and light of God, that that's all we are. And there's nothing else to be concerned about. That love and light brings its own direction. It tells us where to go, what to do, and what to say. Live by the love and the light of God, and then the world of externals are here for us to bless and enjoy, not to fight with, not to argue with, not to figure anything out in, simply to be with and see through it the appearance, behold the divinity all about us. That's what Christ's vision is, and that's what this exercise gives us. It gives us the experience of beholding the divinity in ourselves and in one another, and the experience of feeling happy. Simply that. Happy in one way or another. That's all I have to say, Brother James. Read 165.
I love it. Wow. Shadows. You know, I was thinking as you were sharing, Vicky, we are so often like children. We're told not to do something, and then we have to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I was thinking, when I was a kid, there was one TV show that my mother would not let us watch. Anyone want to guess what it was? Dark Shadows. Do you remember that show? It was like a horror soap opera. There was a vampire named Barnabas Collins or something like that, and my parents said, no, you cannot watch that. That is not appropriate for a child. So what did we do? We went to the neighbors and watched it because we were told not to go into that shadow, not to watch Dark Shadows. I remember years later, when I was in high school, I was in the musical The Fantastics. Many of you may know The Fantastics. You probably know the song, "Try to Remember That Kind of September." That was from The Fantastics. But one of the songs that I sang was this. Why do the kids put beans in their ears? No one can hear with beans in their ears. After a while, the reason appears. They did it 'cause we said no. Your daughter brings a young man home, says, do you like him, Pa? You say that he's a bum, and then you've got a son-in-law. So as these ego identities, even when we hear a statement like today's lesson, let not my mind deny the thought of God. Oh, really? Okay. The egoic part of me that wants to compete, deny, block, immediately does that until hopefully I come to the point that we are all at right now. We've realized it didn't give me what I thought it would. It never kept its promises. The ego never keeps its promises. It promises all sorts of things. It's like the devil appearing to Jesus when he's fasting for 40 days, promising all these things that it will never deliver. Now we have come to the point where we know that it won't deliver. And so we will no longer deny the thought of God in our minds, because that's the only thought that's really in our minds. Everything else is a shadow that seems to be, but is never real. So all we're doing now is we're acknowledging that which is real, that which is whole and wholly lovable. There's also the Unity Daily Word that I'm looking at in the back of the room. The peace of God flows through me now. So we're going to sing together as we begin to close. You'll know this, so sing along. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. Do that again. The peace of God, really feel it, is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now, penetrating all those dark shadows. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. Why would you wait for heaven when you are merely covering your eyes? It is there if you would but open now and realize you never left your home. Just realize you are not alone. One more time. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. Shining right now. Right now. That's all we have to acknowledge. The peace of God is shining in me, as me, right now. If you look up on a cloudy day and it seems like there are dark clouds, blocking the light. Does that mean the sun has gone anywhere? No, of course not. If my own thoughts and unwillingness to accept the will of God present, wholly present right now, if all of those thoughts seem to be blocking the light that I am, does that mean it's no longer there? Of course not. The peace of God is shining in me now. That's all we need to acknowledge. So thank you. As always, thank you, Vicky. Thanks to the whole gang there in Quincy. We love you. Thanks to everyone everywhere. Thanks so much for being here. Let's go out and live this now. And we'll start by sharing our final prayer. And by the way, I haven't changed it on the graphic here yet, but when we get to where it says here, wherever God is, I am, we say now, wherever I am, God is. Okay? So let me go ahead and put it up on the screen. If you'd like to stand, you're welcome to. And here we go. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well indeed. Amen, 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 y punto.
Punto.
We love
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Okay,
I
happy
love
Tuesday.
you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, James.
Bye
Thank
bye
you,
for
everyone.
now.
See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow.
Hey.